What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another review. Today we are taking a look at the new Exorcist movie, The Exorcist Believer, the sequel to the classic horror movie, The Exorcist, which I actually watched for the first time like a day before I went to see this new one. This is actually the first in a trilogy of new movies they're going to be making with The Exorcist. Hopefully they don't absolutely destroy another IP like they did to Jurassic Park. What were my expectations going into this movie? So I was hopefully expecting something that didn't destroy the original, but also maybe expect some kind of improvements, because obviously we've come a long way in the last 40-50 years since that movie was made. So I was hoping to see some, maybe some technological advancement. Hopefully everything looked a lot better. But also with the state of horror movies these days, I was also expecting something maybe not so great, because even the horror movies this year, fuck me, Insidious the Red Door, mate. Fucking hell. The Nun 2, like, what are we doing, bro? Did this movie live up to that reputation? Well, the answer is no. I'm sure if you've seen any reviews of this movie or you've seen anyone talk about it, even if you go to like Letterboxd reviews, a lot of people don't fucking like this movie. And I think part of the reason is probably because they have such high expectations, probably because they like the original so much, and this doesn't really live up to that. Is it really a tragic movie, a trash movie? The answer is no. I actually think it's an okay movie. So the first half of this movie is actually pretty good. I think the build up and everything and the explanation of stuff is actually decent. Like, it didn't bore me. In fact, the whole movie didn't bore me. And that's an achievement for me because I get very bored very quickly. But this movie kept my interest. I also think some of the acting performances kind of carried this, not by everyone, but specifically Leslie Odom Jr. and his daughter. The two, that combination was really good. I especially think his character's daughter was excellent. Like, the possessed thing that was going on, that was crazy. She was doing a really great job with that. Everyone else was kind of okay, but those two, their performances was top notch in my opinion. That's about all the good things I have to say about it, to be fair. Like, some of the acting was good, maybe some of the visual effects and stuff was good. There was a few jump scares in there. I'll give them that. There was a few jump scares in there. Well, maybe in the original there wasn't. Let's talk about some of the serious problems this movie has, because it does have some serious issues that kind of bothered me. This movie is super generic, especially the plot. It doesn't do anything that most other horror movies don't. Like, oh, my mother died, and now I want to be a medium and contact the dead, and now I'm possessed, bro. Oh, what a shock. Like, it literally happens in almost every possession/ghost movie. They're trying to contact a dead person, or they have trauma because somebody close to them died. I'm kind of tired of this trope. That shit is annoying, and it's boring, and it's so overdone. There's a lot of other tropey stuff. I don't want to kind of spoil the movie, but the one original thing they did try to go for, though, was this whole double possession deal. I see a lot of people complaining about it. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it is kind of fucking wacky, bro. Like, why are they both possessed? It's weird. I know you want to do something different, but is this the right way to be different? Like, there's a time and place to be different and unique, but I feel like it wasn't horrible, but it also wasn't great. I know they wanted to set it up for the eventual kind of crescendo of the movie, but yeah, it was kind of meh. Seeing these two different families deal with it very differently, and then it was kind of weird. I know earlier I said the first half of this movie was pretty good. Well, the second half of this movie was just all over the place, mate. Plot was jumping from point to point. I don't know if they had run out of time, if they just run out of ideas, if they didn't have enough time while writing the script or whatever. Mate, the plot was jumping from point to point. It was like teleporting, bro. Like, it would just cut a whole bit out, and you're just like, oh, we're here now, man. It was crazy how they were doing that. From the point where they introduced the mother from the original movie, it started just going all over the shop. And I was a bit confused. I'm sure everyone was confused. And talking about the mother from the original, why the fuck was she in the movie, bro? They marketed this movie kind of around her too. If you watched any of the trailers, she was in it. And she was a big part of the trailers. But she's not a big part of the movie. She's just there. She's just there to exist. And like, she's kind of got this weird medium thing going on as well. Like, she can kind of sense ghosts or something. And I know they wanted to bring her back kind of probably as a call out, or at least a homage to the original maybe. But she plays no particular role. Like, the only role she plays is to convince the one dad that maybe possession is a thing. But he kind of already believes that possession is a thing at this point. And then he just, like, it's crazy because the one woman just comes out and is like, oh, have you heard of this woman? Here's a book that she wrote. And then he just goes to her house, bro. How does he know where she lives? You know what? It's okay. It's okay. It doesn't matter. It's not that deep. And then she just doesn't play any other part in the movie. And with her being in it, they kind of allude to the fact that it's the same demon that possessed her daughter. But that's the only time they allude to that. It's when she just goes in there and talks to the demon for about 2 minutes. That's the only time. So I don't know what was going on with that. The next thing that bothered me about the plot of this movie is they kind of just jumped to possession very quickly. I know the original movie kind of shows the painstaking, it's kind of a grind trying to get her daughter diagnosed. Like she goes to actual doctors, then she goes to like the mental health professionals. They do this, they do that, and it takes a while of build up. So maybe they didn't want it to be like that, where they go through and exhaust all the options again and they kind of move on with the story a little bit. But it's crazy how they just went, ah, she's possessed, bro. She must be. Like, one of the mothers was like, yeah, she's possessed. My daughter's possessed. Like, there's this weird saying in, like, medicine that I hear is, like, horses, not zebras, right? Like, you're meant to try and do the generic stuff first. And I know they kind of put them in a psych ward for a bit, but they don't really talk about it, and they just kind of go, yeah, she's possessed, bro. Let's go, let's move on. And the final thing I want to talk about with the plot is the actual exorcism bit. Because first movie, one criticism I have of the original Exorcist movie is the exorcism part is very short and not really well done. Like, it's maybe the last 10 minutes of the movie when, you know, the movie's called The Exorcist. I'm assuming the exorcism should be a big part of it. So I think they wanted to do a bit more with the whole exorcism part. And the exorcism part was like 30 minutes of the movie. It was a fat chunk of the movie, but there was so much wrong with it. Firstly, why is there like 50 people there? Why is there so many people at this exorcism? Also, one thing that's annoying is the church guy, the father or the priest or whatever he was, is like, oh, the church didn't approve the exorcism, bro, so I can't be in there, you know? So it's like, okay, but there's another fucking priest or father in the damn exorcism already. So what the hell is going on with that? Why is one there but the other's not? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And the whole exorcism scene, it's okay, you know, it's alright. You know, it's the crescendo of the movie, but like some of it just makes absolutely no fucking sense. And I'm just there like, okay, man, whatever, you've kind of botched this. It's gone on way too long. You know, the first one's too short, but this one's just way too long. And the final thing I'll say about this movie, the final negative I'll give it is you definitely need to watch the first one. I mean, I guess you could watch it without knowing any context, but it would be kind of odd to watch this one without watching the original Exorcist. By the way, that you cannot watch anywhere unless you pay for it, by the way. Like, you have to rent it on Amazon Prime. It's not on any country's Netflix. Even if you thought you could do a VPN trick, you can't at the moment. I was looking because my cinemas were showing it, but the one I go to, it wasn't showing it until like 3 or 4 days after the release date. So that was fun. One actual thing I want to add that was actually pretty cool to see was the fact that they added some other cultures into this. Like, they were in like Haiti and like, you know, they were adding like some African influence on it, like some practices they use to ward off evil spirits. I thought that was cool to see some different cultures and different exorcisms in there, or like different versions, because we only see the same boring old exorcism from the Catholic Church. But so many religions and so many cultures have their different exorcisms and different like spirit cleansing shit. So it was cool to see that. And that's where it begs the question: when's the Muslim exorcism coming? I want to see that movie where they use like the Islam version, mate. I need to see a Muslim exorcism. You know, they are trying some different culture horror movies. I know I watched It Lives Within, or is that what it's called? It Lives Here, or what's that movie called? The Indian one that I watched last month, which was horrible, but it was cool to see a different cultures with, you know, in a horror movie. But yeah, that was cool to see as well. But overall, what do I rate this movie? What are my final thoughts? I think the movie overall is actually a decent horror movie. In comparison to some of the shit that's come out this year, it shits all over that. I think it's quite an entertaining watch. Like, it's not horrible. Like, it's a decent movie and you will enjoy watching it. Just don't compare it to the original, because it doesn't live up to the original, and I don't think many horror movies will live up to the original one. I think that's part of why people hate it. Overall, I'd rate it, you know, a 6 out of 10. I think that's about right. I gave it a 3 stars on Letterboxd. I think that's a decent rating for it. Hopefully the other 2 Exorcist movies will be good or better than this one, but you know, I have very little hope. Judging by this, you know, Star Wars didn't really improve, and Jurassic World definitely just kept getting worse as the movies went on. So overall, I think it's still probably one of the better horror movies I've watched this year, barring like maybe Megan and Cobweb and a few others. Still okay. But yeah, that's all I got to say, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you've watched it or if you're going to watch it, and I'll see you all in the next one.